All right, let's talk big knives. This is a freaking monster. And it's totally awesome. It comes with a few spare parts. Look at this massive pivot. I mean, that's crazy. So they give you another pivot. They give you a tool to get the pivot on and off. Extra washers. They even give you extra stop pins and extra thumb studs, along with everything else that you may need. Back spacers, barrel spacers. There's so much stuff. It's like, really? Why didn't you just give me an extra blade and some extra scales? You literally have enough spare parts to build a second knife for the most part. So this is the District 9 Catastrophe, and it was loaned in from the Beard of Doom. This is by far, he said, one of his most carried knives. Now, he does, as we know, like his lanyards and his beads. Kind of a cool looking bead. I'm going to tell you, I'm still not a fan of the beads and the lanyards. Partially because when this one is in your pocket, the lanyard and bead bang up against the pocket clip as you're walking. And yeah, that's a little much for me. Other than that, I mean, take this lanyard off and I'm in love with this knife. I'm not going to lie. I'm kind of over my overbuilt big knife phase, if you will. But to give you kind of some perspective, here is a Medford Praetorian tie. It dwarfs it. And everybody thinks that the Medfords are huge and overbuilt and crazy. No, this is like a normal size knife compared to the Catastrophe. Wow. Almost drop shut because the blade is so heavy. You don't need bearings. Bearings would be a problem for this knife because it would be dangerously fast action to close. And there's nothing wrong with the action on this thing at all. So let's take a close-up look because this has a lot of stuff going on. An amazingly beautiful Stonewash blade. Thumb stud and stop pin. Just very cool milling on the scales. It's got an extra little doohickey over here, which will pull off. This is like a, well, it's not like a, it turns this folder into a fixed blade because there is a hole here that goes all the way through the scale, through the blade, and into the other scale. And now you can unlock the knife, but it is not moving. There's a tiny bit of play. But they also have a secondary lock here, which keeps you from unlocking the lock bar. Now, it is as solid as a fixed blade. And you can actually use this and feel comfortable as a fixed blade because mechanically it's got this bar that goes all the way through the blade. This can't fail. I mean, I guess if Magilla Gorilla took it and, something like that, but legit, you have this pin that goes all the way through the blade and the scales. This isn't going anywhere. Now, you do have this kind of flopping around as it's in your pocket and as you're using it. So for now, I'm just going to leave this off to the side. The pocket clip is very cool also. It has a hinge. So to get it into your pocket, it's best to just unhinge it and slide it in. Pulling it out of your pocket is no problem at all. This works really well. And I kind of like it. It's a little gimmicky almost, maybe, but I like that. It works so great. Full titanium scales. They are not milled out inside. No, I'm sorry. They are milled out inside, which helps because this thing is not light. You're going to want to wear a belt and suspenders because it comes in at 15.4 ounces with the bead. It's about 14.6-ish. It's hard to measure, hard to weigh it by holding the bead up. So call it 15.5 ounces as it sits. That's crazy heavy. Steel lock bar insert, all the good stuff. Let's talk about the size. 6.25 overall. Closed. 10 3/8 overall from the tip to the glass breaker at the end. 4.3-inch blade with a 3.9-inch cutting edge. Behind the edge, we have 0.021 on the main cutting edge and 0.025 up here at the Tonto. It is M390 blade steel. The blade thickness is 0.223. And the overall thickness is about 3/4 of an inch. It's massive, but so comfortable. Now, the milling on here almost pushes it to gas station-ish. Not quite there. It's very similar to the Miller Brothers. The T1, I think is what they call it, the Miller Brother, which is more Praetorian size, but thicker and beefier. So, yeah, Bearded Doom is a big dude. He says he easily carries this several days a week, and it's in his top 3 most carried knives. This is a do-it-all knife. It is sharp. It will cut, and it will smash a cinder block in half if that's what you need it to do. And I appreciate that in a knife. I kind of, I think a lot of us, we go up and down in phases from, little knives at 1.56 ounces, 1.6 ounces to 15 ounces and everything in between for me. Here it is next to a Delica and a Sharpie and a Kubi. It dwarfs knives. It's crazy, this thing. And, we saw it next to the Praetorian. Crazy. Just crazy, but also extremely awesome. Now, a lot of people think the Hellraiser's big. The Hellraiser is big. It's a full-size knife, if you will. The Catastrophe, yeah. And I did some looking around. These, there was one just like this on Arizona Custom Knives recently that sold for like $500, $495. So these are not crazy expensive. You can't get a Medford Praetorian for $500. Maybe, certainly not a Praetorian tie, their 1/4-inch thick bladed one. You're not going to get that for $500, even used and beat up. It's going to cost you $1,000. And this dwarfs it. So if you're looking for something crazy big, massive, and a manly knife, this is it. So Beard of Doom, thank you very much for sending this in. Please go check out my Overbuilt playlist over here and Beard of Doom's channel over there. Tell him I sent you, and thanks a lot, everyone.